The notification sound pierced through the clatter of pots and pans in my kitchen. Another message I'd normally ignore while perfecting my latest creation, a delicate fusion of French and Vietnamese cuisines that had consumed my evenings for weeks. But Jenna never texted during prep hours unless it was urgent. I wiped my hands on my apron and clicked the link she'd sent. The video started playing, and my world tilted sideways. There, in pristine 4K resolution, was my dish. My exact dish. Every element I'd labored over for months. The lemongrass-infused beurre blanc, the precise arrangement of micro-herbs, even the damn diagonal score marks on the seared duck breast. All of it presented with flourish by none other than Chef Elliot Granger, introducing our newest addition to the spring menu. His voice boomed through my phone's speakers. A contemporary take on classic French cuisine with Asian influences. My knife clattered to the floor. The sound barely registered as I watched him describe my techniques, my flavor combinations, my vision, as if they'd sprung fully formed from his own mind. The video had already racked up thousands of views, with comments praising his innovative genius. That backstabbing piece of... I caught myself, remembering my sister Olivia's voice. You're just jealous because Marcus actually made something of himself. Marcus, her precious boyfriend who'd been hanging around my experimental cooking sessions, asking questions, taking notes. I'd thought he was genuinely interested. Turns out he was just mining for ideas to pass along to his boss. My phone buzzed again. Jenna. Tell me you're seeing this. Call me now. Instead, I called Olivia. Each ring felt like a hammer blow to my chest. She answered on the fourth. What's up, Peyton? I'm kind of in the middle of something. Is Marcus with you? Yeah, we're actually celebrating. He just got promoted to... Did you know? My voice came out steadier than I felt. About my recipe? A pause. Too long. What recipe? Don't play dumb, Olivia. The fusion dish that just went viral on Chef Granger's channel. The one Marcus watched me develop for weeks. Oh my God, are you serious right now? Her laugh felt like acid in my ears. Just because someone came up with something similar? Similar? It's identical, down to the plating technique I created. Listen to yourself, she said, her voice dripping with that familiar condescension. Chef Granger is a culinary genius. Why would he need to steal recipes from someone who can't even get hired at a decent restaurant? The words hit their mark with surgical precision. Behind her, I heard Marcus's muffled voice. Is that your sister? Tell her I loved her original version of the dish. My blood froze. In those few words, he'd admitted everything and made sure I knew he'd admitted it, while remaining completely protected. After all, who would believe my word against Chef Granger's rising star? You know what? I said, surprising myself with how calm I sounded. You're right. I must be imagining things. Enjoy your celebration. I ended the call and stared at my kitchen counter, where my notes and sketches for the dish lay scattered. 6 months of experimentation, of failure and refinement, of pushing boundaries and finding my voice as a chef. All of it stolen in an instant. My phone lit up again. Jenna, calling this time. I let it ring as I picked up my fallen knife, testing its weight in my hand. The blade caught the kitchen light, and in its reflection, I saw something shift in my eyes. A hardening. A decision. They thought they could steal my work and dismiss me as a jealous failure? Fine. But they were about to learn something about me that even my sister had forgotten. I'd always been at my most dangerous in the kitchen. Sunday family dinners were sacred to my father, which made them the perfect battlefield. I arrived early, carrying a bottle of wine I couldn't afford, and the weight of yesterday's betrayal like lead in my stomach. There's my girl. Mom pulled me into a hug that smelled of rosemary and anxiety. Your father's grilling steaks, and Olivia's bringing Marcus. Isn't that wonderful? I forced a smile. Wonderful. The kitchen counter was already lined with appetizers, all store-bought. Mom had given up trying to compete with her daughter's culinary abilities years ago. I uncorked the wine, poured myself a generous glass, and watched her flutter around the kitchen like a nervous bird. About that video that's going around, she started, not quite meeting my eyes. Your father thinks... The front door burst open, bringing with it Olivia's laugh and Marcus's smooth baritone. Perfect timing, as always. Something smells amazing. Olivia breezed in, Marcus close behind. She was wearing the dress I'd complimented last month, the one she'd said wasn't really her style. Daddy, those steaks better be medium rare. Marcus caught my eye and had the audacity to wink. Peyton, great to see you. Been experimenting with any new recipes lately? My wine glass creaked in my grip. Before I could respond, Dad appeared from the patio, tongs in hand like a scepter. Marcus, my boy, heard about the promotion. Moving up fast at Granger's place, aren't you? Hard work pays off, sir. Marcus's modesty was as practiced as his knife skills, and about as genuine. Speaking of which, I set my glass down carefully. I saw Chef Granger's new video. Fascinating technique with that fusion dish. The room's temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. Olivia's smile tightened. Peyton, we talked about this. Did we? Because I remember you hanging up on me. Girls, Mom interjected, let's not... Actually, I continued, pulling out my phone, I'd love everyone's opinion. I have some videos of my own, from 3 months ago, showing the exact same... Enough! Dad's voice cracked like a whip. I won't have you embarrassing this family with baseless accusations. Marcus has worked hard to get where he is. Worked hard stealing my recipes. Jesus, Peyton. Olivia rolled her eyes. Not everything is about you. Maybe if you spent less time being paranoid and more time actually pursuing your career, like you pursued yours? The words escaped before I could stop them. Remind me, how many times did you change majors before deciding to find yourself on Instagram? Olivia's face flushed. Marcus stepped forward, ever the protective boyfriend. Look, I understand you're frustrated with your career progression, but don't. My voice was ice. Don't you dare patronize me. Peyton Reynolds. Dad set the tongs down with deliberate care. You will apologize to your sister and Marcus right now. I looked around the kitchen. At Mom's pleading eyes, Dad's stern disappointment, Olivia's practiced hurt, and Marcus's subtle smirk. The familiar choreography of family dynamics, where I was always cast as the difficult one, the jealous one, the one who needed to try harder to fit in. You know what? I reached for my purse. I'm not hungry. If you walk out that door, Dad warned, don't expect what? Support? Understanding? When have I ever gotten those here? Olivia's voice turned sickeningly sweet. You're just proving everyone's point about your attitude, sis. I paused at the door, turning back one last time. You know, Marcus, the funny thing about stealing recipes? The person who created them knows exactly what makes them work, and what tiny changes could make them fail spectacularly. His smirk faltered, just slightly. Message received. Peyton. Mom called after me, but I was already gone, the spring evening wrapping around me like a shield. My phone buzzed. Jenna. How'd it go? I typed back. Time for plan B. Because here's the thing about being the family disappointment. Once you've got nothing left to lose, you've got everything to gain. And I was done playing nice. Jenna's apartment smelled like coffee and determination at midnight. She spread printouts across her dining table, screenshots, social media posts, and dated photographs of my original recipe development process. Look at this. She pointed to a series of Instagram stories from Marcus's account. He's been documenting your techniques for months, just changing small details in the presentation. My fingers traced the timestamps. That's the day he asked about my Vietnamese caramel technique. Said it was for a friend's dinner party. More like for his promotion pitch. Jenna pulled up Chef Granger's restaurant website. 3 of your fusion concepts are already on their spring menu. Different names, same core recipes. The betrayal felt fresh again, like a knife twisting deeper. I trusted him. Even when Olivia started bringing him to family dinners, I thought... I stopped, remembering how he'd praise my experimental dishes while taking notes on his phone. Jenna's phone buzzed. Her expression shifted as she read the message. Speaking of your sister, you need to see this. It was a promotional video for Granger's restaurant. Marcus stood in the pristine kitchen describing his innovative approach to fusion cuisine while preparing my lemongrass-infused beurre blanc. But it was the comment below that made my blood boil. Olivia had written, "So proud of my talented boyfriend. Always knew you'd revolutionize the culinary scene." Culinary genius. She knows, I whispered. She has to know those are my recipes. Wait, there's more. Jenna scrolled through her messages. My friend at the restaurant says Marcus is hosting a private tasting next week. Apparently, Chef Granger is bringing potential investors. I stood up, pacing Jenna's small living room. He's building his entire career on my work, and my family, they're all just celebrating it. Then let's end the celebration. Jenna's voice had that dangerous edge I recognized from our culinary school days. I can get you into that tasting. How? I manage 3 high-end restaurants. I know people who know people. She grinned. Plus, I might have already convinced my friend to add 2 names to the guest list. My heart raced with possibility. Even if we get in, what's the plan? Stand up and accuse him in front of everyone? Better. Jenna pulled out one final document, a dated email chain between Marcus and several suppliers, discussing ingredients specific to my recipes. We prove it, systematically, publicly, and... She hesitated. What? I didn't want to show you this yet, but... She pulled up a draft announcement from Granger's PR team. Marcus is being promoted to head chef of their new fusion concept restaurant. The whole menu... Peyton, it's all your creations. The room spun slightly. I gripped the back of a chair, my knuckles white. When? The announcement goes live next week, after the investor tasting. My phone lit up. A text from Mom. Please call. Your father wants to apologize. Marcus is helping plan a special family dinner to make things right. Another knife twist. Another manipulation. Jenna, I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside. Remember that molecular gastronomy experiment we did in second year? The one that nearly got us expelled? She raised an eyebrow. The one where we proved our professor's signature technique was stolen from that Japanese chef? Exactly. I picked up one of Marcus's Instagram posts, a perfect image of my dish, tagged with his lies. Time to conduct another experiment. You know this could blow up in our faces. Jenna warned, but she was already reaching for her laptop. Your family. Already chose their side. I sat down, pulling the evidence closer. Marcus wants to be known for my recipes? Fine. Let's show everyone exactly how well he understands them. Because here's the thing about stealing someone's culinary creations. You need to understand the science behind them. The precise chemical reactions. The exact timing. The subtle balances that make the difference between triumph and disaster. And I was about to give Marcus the chemistry lesson of his life. The kitchen at Granger's felt different at night. Empty, except for Marcus and me, with only the hum of industrial refrigerators breaking the silence. He'd agreed to meet after service hours, probably thinking he could charm or intimidate me into silence. You look tired, Peyton. He wiped down his station with practiced efficiency. Still working on those pop-up dinners nobody attends? I placed my phone on the counter, recording app running. Let's skip the small talk. I want you to admit what you did. What I did? His laugh echoed off stainless steel surfaces. You mean succeed? Build a career? Make your sister happy? You stole my recipes, my techniques, my entire culinary vision. He set down his cloth, finally meeting my eyes. Prove it. I pulled out my development notebook, filled with dated entries, sketches, and precise measurements. Happy to. Page 37, the exact ratio for the lemongrass beurre blanc you're so proud of. Written 3 months before you ever created it. Something flickered across his face. Not guilt, but calculation. You know what's funny? Olivia mentioned you used to keep journals like this in high school, too. Always convinced someone was stealing your spotlight. The casual mention of my sister hit its mark. Leave her out of this. Why, she's as much a part of this as anyone. He moved closer, voice dropping. You think she doesn't know? She's seen your kitchen experiments for years. She knows exactly where these recipes came from. My throat tightened. You're lying. Am I? Who do you think suggested I pay attention to your cooking in the first place? His smile turned cruel. She knew you'd never do anything with these recipes yourself. Too scared of failure, too worried about perfection. She said it would be a shame to let all that talent go to waste. The room tilted slightly. I gripped the counter edge. Olivia wouldn't what? Support her boyfriend's career? Choose success over her sister's hobby? He shrugged. Face it, Peyton. You were never going to use these recipes. I did them justice, made them worth something. By stealing them. By improving them, adding refinement, professional polish. He picked up my notebook, flipping through it casually. You want to expose me? Go ahead. But remember, your sister's reputation goes down with mine. And your parents? They'll never forgive you for destroying both their daughters' lives. I reached for my notebook, but he held it away. That's not your property, actually. He tore out several pages in one smooth motion. I think these belong to Granger's now. Part of my employment contract? All recipes developed while working here belong to the restaurant. I never worked here. But I did. And these? He waved the pages. These are my interpretations of classic fusion techniques. Your notebook? Just research notes. Anyone could see that. My hands shook. Give them back. Or what? You'll tell everyone the truth? He stepped closer, voice soft but sharp. Nobody will believe you, Peyton. They already think you're jealous and unstable. One more accusation, and you'll lose whatever credibility you have left. The worst part wasn't his words. It was knowing he might be right. I could see it playing out. My parents taking his side, Olivia's tearful denials, my reputation in tatters. You have two choices, he continued. Walk away now. Let this go and maybe salvage your relationship with your family. Or push this, lose everything, and watch me succeed anyway. He held out the torn pages. Your call. I stared at my recipes in his hand. My work, my passion, my future. Then I turned and walked out, leaving both the pages and my phone behind. In the parking lot, Jenna waited in her car. Did you get it? I slid into the passenger seat, hands still shaking. Every word. The backup recording app on your old phone caught everything. Including the part about stealing your intellectual property and Olivia's involvement? I nodded, the weight of betrayal settling deeper. He was right about one thing. This will destroy my family. Maybe. Jenna started the car. Some things need to be destroyed before they can be rebuilt. We drove in silence, the night wrapping around us like a shroud. I'd wanted evidence, closure, maybe even an apology. Instead, I'd gotten confirmation that my sister had orchestrated my betrayal from the start. Time for Plan C. The invitation arrived in a cream envelope embossed with Granger's logo. Inside, gold lettering announced Marcus's promotion celebration and tasting menu. 6 courses of my stolen recipes, served to the city's culinary elite. My sister's handwriting graced the bottom. Please come. We need to talk. I dropped the invitation on Jenna's desk. They're not even trying to hide it anymore. She examined the menu descriptions. These are definitely your dishes. But look, he's modified the Vietnamese caramel sauce. Simplified it. Because he never understood the proper temperature control. I pulled up the recording from our confrontation. We have enough evidence. Why wait? Because timing is everything. Jenna tapped the invitation. And this is perfect. Every food critic and investor in the city will be there. Plus, she hesitated. What? Chef Granger just announced he's opening 3 new restaurants. Marcus is set to head the flagship location. My fingers curled into fists. Using my recipes. There's more. She pulled up an email on her screen. The Restaurant Association is considering him for Rising Star Chef. The nomination mentioned his innovative fusion techniques. The room seemed to shrink. Everything I'd worked for, everything I'd created, being handed to him on a silver platter. And my sister had helped orchestrate it all. My phone buzzed. Olivia. Got my note? We should clear the air before the event. Coffee tomorrow? Don't, Jenna warned, reading over my shoulder. She'll just try to manipulate you again. Maybe I want to hear her explain why she betrayed me. The words tasted bitter. Or maybe you need to focus on the plan. Jenna pulled out a notebook. The tasting menu gives us exactly what we need. He's serving your most complex dishes to the most discerning palates in the city. Understanding dawned. And he doesn't know all the technical details. Exactly. One small mistake in temperature or timing could ruin everything. I stared at the invitation. But the evidence will matter more after he publicly fails. Jenna's eyes gleamed. Think about it. Right now, it's your word against his. But if he can't replicate your techniques in front of everyone... My phone buzzed again. Mom this time. Your father and I are so proud of Marcus. Please don't cause a scene at the event. Of course. They assumed I'd come to make trouble, not that I'd been invited to witness my own public humiliation. You know what happens if this goes wrong, I said quietly. It's not just Marcus I'll be exposing. I know. Jenna's voice softened. But they made their choices. Now you need to make yours. I picked up the invitation again, running my finger over Olivia's handwriting. My little sister, who used to sneak into my room late at night to taste test my experiments, who once said I was the only person who really saw her. Another message lit up my phone. Marcus. Looking forward to showing everyone what real innovation looks like. Hope you can handle watching from the audience for once. Something cold and certain settled in my chest. Get me the guest list, I told Jenna, and find out which suppliers they're using. Already done? She pulled out another file. The question is, are you ready? This isn't just about exposing a recipe thief anymore. No, it wasn't. It was about years of being overlooked, of having my passion dismissed as a hobby. About a sister who saw my talent as something to exploit rather than celebrate. About parents who chose comfortable lies over uncomfortable truths. I opened my recipe notebook, the real one, not the decoy Marcus had torn apart, and began to write. Every crucial temperature, every precise timing, every chemical reaction that made my dishes work. And more importantly, what would make them fail spectacularly. Send my RSVP, I said, not looking up. Tell them I wouldn't miss it for the world. Because here's the thing about revenge served cold. Sometimes you need to let it simmer first, reducing down to its most potent form. And I was done being the only one who could taste the bitterness. Granger's dining room hummed with anticipation. Crystal glasses caught the light. White tablecloths stretched like fresh snow. And somewhere in the kitchen, Marcus was about to serve my life's work to the city's culinary elite. I adjusted my blazer, feeling the weight of the USB drive in my pocket. Beside me, Jenna scanned the room with practiced eyes. Food critics at 3 o'clock, restaurant investors by the window, and your family. Front and center. Of course they were. Mom in her best pearls, Dad beaming with borrowed pride, and Olivia practically glowing as she worked the room. The perfect supporting cast for Marcus's moment of triumph. Chef Granger took the small stage, champagne in hand. Tonight we celebrate not just a promotion, but a vision. Marcus Bennett represents the future of fusion cuisine. The first course arrived, my lemongrass soup, but something was off. The aromatics were muted, the balance slightly wrong. Marcus had rushed the infusion process just as I'd predicted. Critics exchanged glances. Spoons hesitated midair. But before anyone could comment, the second course appeared. The temperature's wrong, Jenna whispered. He's serving the caramel sauce too cold. I watched the sauce congeal on expensive china, turning what should have been silk into rubber. A food critic at the next table pushed his plate away. Then it happened. Chef Granger's face tightened as he tasted the third course. He gestured for Marcus, their heated whispers carrying across the suddenly quiet room. This was it. My moment to stand up, play the recording, expose everything. The evidence was right there in my pocket. One move and I know what you're doing. Olivia stood behind my chair, her voice low and sharp. I saw your notebook in Marcus's office, the one with the deliberately wrong temperatures. My hand froze halfway to my pocket. Funny how you recognize my handwriting now? You set him up to fail. Her fingers dug into my shoulder. You knew he'd follow those notes exactly. Like he followed my original recipes? I turned to face her. The ones you helped him steal? Something flickered in her eyes. Not guilt, but fear. You don't understand. Marcus promised. Ladies and gentlemen. Chef Granger's voice cut through the tension. It seems we're experiencing some technical difficulties. If you'll bear with us. A crash from the kitchen. Marcus burst through the doors, face flushed. It's sabotage. She sabotaged everything. He pointed at me, wild-eyed. Check the security cameras. She was in the kitchen last night. The room erupted in whispers. Dad stood up, his expression thunderous. Mom pressed her hands to her mouth. Is this true? Chef Granger asked, approaching our table. I reached for the USB drive, but Olivia moved faster. Actually, Chef Granger, there's something you should see. She pulled out her phone, pulled up a video. My heart stopped. It was me in the kitchen last night, but not sabotaging anything. Just carefully measuring ingredients, following my own recipes perfectly. The dishes Marcus had failed to recreate. I installed cameras weeks ago, Olivia said quietly. To protect Marcus, I thought, but they caught everything, including him stealing Peyton's recipes in the first place. The room spun. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. My revenge, my moment, my choice, all unraveling because my sister had once again stepped into the spotlight. You knew? I managed to say. You knew and you let him. I knew he was using your recipes. Her voice cracked. I didn't know he was going to claim them as his own. When I realized, I couldn't. I'm sorry. Chef Granger watched the video, his expression darkening. Marcus backed away, looking for escape. Critics pulled out phones, documenting everything. And there I sat, my perfect revenge transformed into public spectacle, orchestrated by the very person who'd betrayed me in the first place. Because that's the thing about revenge. Sometimes it comes from unexpected directions. And sometimes when it finally arrives, it tastes nothing like you imagined. I stood up, legs shaking. Chef Granger, if you'll excuse me. Miss Reynolds, he said, eyes still on the video. I believe you and I need to have a serious conversation about your culinary innovations. Behind him, Marcus bolted for the door. Olivia reached for my hand. I pulled away. Some victories feel an awful lot like defeat. Chef Granger's private office felt smaller than the dining room, but the stakes were infinitely larger. He sat behind his desk, my recipe notebook open before him, while Olivia and I occupied opposite corners of the room like prize fighters before a match. These techniques, he tapped the pages, are revolutionary. The molecular gastronomy applications alone. He looked up at me. Why didn't you ever apply here? I did. The words tasted bitter. 3 times. Your HR department never responded. Because Marcus intercepted the applications. Olivia cut in. He was afraid you'd... I don't need you to defend me. My voice could have frozen flame. Not after everything. Ladies, Granger interrupted. Let's focus on the immediate issue. Miss Reynolds, Peyton, I'd like to offer you a position. Head chef at our new location. The same position they'd promised Marcus. The irony wasn't lost on me. And what about Marcus? I asked. The police are handling that aspect. Granger's tone hardened. Intellectual property theft is a serious offense. Olivia flinched. He didn't act alone. No. I turned to face her fully. He didn't. I installed those cameras 2 weeks ago, she said quietly, after I found your original notebooks in his apartment, the ones he said he'd destroyed. How convenient. You get to play hero after months of helping him steal my work. I was wrong. Her composure cracked. I was jealous, okay? You were always the talented one, the creative one. I just wanted... She stopped, tears threatening. Wanted what? To watch me fail? To matter. The words exploded from her. To be more than your shadow for once. Granger cleared his throat. Perhaps I should give you 2 a moment. No. I planted my hands on his desk. You should hear this too, because here's what's going to happen. I'll take the position, but on my terms. Full creative control. My name on my dishes, and a public acknowledgement of where these recipes actually came from. Done, he said immediately. And Marcus? Press charges. He made his choices. I turned back to Olivia. Just like you made yours. She stepped forward. Peyton, please, I know I messed up, but I'm trying to make it right. By swooping in at the last minute? Stealing my revenge like Marcus stole my recipes? By telling the truth, finally. She grabbed her phone, pulled up more videos. Look, I recorded everything. Every time he practiced your recipes, every conversation about using them. I was gathering evidence, trying to find the courage to... To what? Admit you were wrong? That's not courage, Olivia. That's damage control. Then what do you want from me? The question hung in the air. heavy with years of competition and resentment. What did I want? Revenge had driven me this far, but now, staring at my sister's tear-stained face, I felt something shift. I want my sister back, I said finally. Not the one who sees me as competition. The one who used to sneak into my kitchen at midnight to taste test new recipes. The one who believed in me before anyone else did. Granger cleared his throat again. The press is waiting for a statement. About Marcus, the recipes, all of it. What should I tell them? I looked at Olivia. Really looked at her. Behind the perfect makeup and practiced poise, I saw something familiar. The same hunger for validation that had driven me all these years. Tell them. I picked up my notebook. Tell them that innovation runs in the family, and that sometimes the best recipes require multiple attempts before they turn out right. Olivia's eyes widened slightly. Understanding passed between us. Not forgiveness, not yet, but possibility. Like a complex dish, some relationships need time to develop their full flavor. And Marcus? She asked softly. Gets to learn what it's like to cook with his own ingredients for once. Because here's the thing about revenge. Sometimes the sweetest version isn't the one you planned, but the one that allows you to preserve what matters while letting go of what doesn't. I held out my hand to my sister. Want to help me design the new menu? Her smile was watery but real. Only if you promise to give me honest feedback this time. Deal. I turned to Granger. Now, about those terms, the envelope arrived on opening night, just as the first customers were being seated at Fusion. No return address, just my name in familiar handwriting. I slipped it into my chef's coat pocket, unopened. Tonight belonged to the food. My new kitchen hummed with controlled chaos. Olivia expedited orders with surprising authority, while Jenna managed the front of house with her usual precision. Through the service window, I glimpsed my parents at their table. Dad actually nervous for once, Mom clutching her napkin like a lifeline. First order, Olivia called out. Table 7, tasting menu with the chef's signature fusion series. My signature series. No borrowed glory, no stolen techniques, just pure creation. The rhythm of service took over. The sizzle of pans, the precise plating, the steady flow of dishes leaving my kitchen exactly as I'd envisioned them. Between courses, I caught glimpses of faces lighting up with discovery, of critics taking careful notes, of Chef Granger nodding approvingly from his corner table. Chef, one of my line cooks called out, Table 12 wants to meet you. Later, I said, focusing on the caramel sauce that had once betrayed Marcus's theft. The temperature had to be exact. It's your parents' table. I handed the sauce to my sous chef. Finish this, remember? 165 degrees exactly, I know, chef. At their table, Dad stood awkwardly, looking out of place without his usual certainty. Mom wiped her eyes with that napkin. The food, Dad started, then stopped. Peyton, I know. I adjusted my chef's coat. But you're here now. That dessert, Mom said softly. The one with the spiced caramel. It's the same one you made for my birthday when you were 16. With improvements. I smiled slightly. The original was a bit sweet. It was perfect, she whispered. Dad cleared his throat. We were wrong. About everything. About Marcus. About your dreams. About... Chef? Olivia's voice cut through the moment. Need you in the kitchen. Now. Back in my domain, I found organized pandemonium. A food critic had ordered every fusion dish on the menu. For comparison, he'd said. My hands moved automatically, creating, perfecting, each dish a statement of identity. The envelope crinkled in my pocket as I plated the final course. I pulled it out, finally ready. Marcus's letter was brief. I'm sorry. Not just for stealing your recipes, but for making you doubt your talent. You were always the real chef. I was just a good copycat. The irony is, if I'd asked for help instead of stealing it, you probably would have taught me. That's the kind of person you are. The kind I pretended to be. Olivia appeared at my elbow. You okay? I handed her the letter. File it with the evidence? She read it quickly, then tore it in half. Or we could just move forward. Through the service window, I watched the critic take his first bite of my signature dish. The one Marcus had stolen. The one that had started everything. His eyes widened slightly. "Chef," my sous chef called out. "Next orders?" I looked around my kitchen, at the team that trusted my vision, at the sister who'd chosen truth over comfort, at the future spreading out before me like a blank menu waiting to be filled. "Next orders," I confirmed, reaching for my notebook. A new one, filled with recipes yet to be perfected. Let's show them what fusion really means. Because here's the thing about revenge. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying your enemies, but building something they could never copy. Something uniquely, unquestionably yours. I heard the critic asking for another portion of the caramel sauce. Olivia caught my eye and grinned. Even Dad, watching from his table, looked proud. Not of some reflected glory, but of the chef I'd become despite everything. Or maybe because of everything. "Fire table 9, I called out, and my kitchen responded like a well-tuned orchestra. This was my symphony, my creation, my truth. And it tasted better than revenge ever could.